Daniel, you mentioned emergence, and you're often sharing that principle. And so the question is, can we rely on emergence? Can we do the work individually to be available for emergence to happen? And if we do that, will that allow things to transition smooth and fast enough? Or is there something we need to be doing in addition to that to bring about this new civilization?
That's actually a profoundly difficult question.
Yeah.
Perfect.
No, I'm seriously, I need to actually think about that. I think that we can't rely on the notion of emergence. I think that if we try to rely on the notion of emergence, that we are in effect, having a kind of false hope. We have to work to create that kind of emergence. There's an effort that's involved between here and there. I think that emergence will actually happen, but I think that it will only happen if we don't take it for granted.
I'm going to take a different perspective, but it's exactly the same end result, which is it's actually the question's not well formed. That's not the way to think about it. The way to think about it is to tune into who you are and what you're here to do, and do that completely.
And if everybody did that, do you think that would be enough to guide us through this transition?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with Jordan on this.
Yeah. Is it going to be enough to get through the transition is an unanswerable question for anyone right now.
We're trying really hard to just identify the concepts that we think might be the attributes of what a solution might look like. What characteristics does a solution need to have? That list at this particular point is unbounded. We don't know whether everything on it is necessary, and we don't know whether it is sufficient. But we know it's important to ask the question of what sort of characteristics are a solution? What sort of things do we need to develop? I think you're right, Jordan, that the question to some extent is not well formed. But it's interesting. I will spend some more time thinking about it. Very sure.
Which, knowing Forrest, means he will write a definitive essay on it in the next 48 hours.
Get an email sent to 3 people who will ignore it.
I hope this...
Which is fine.
So, getting into really practical daily ritual, what would you recommend as a daily ritual practice for healing and the self-work necessary to be fully available at this moment?
Oh, meditation's important. If you don't spend a little bit of time by yourself getting to know who you are, if you don't spend some time basically learning what is the vehicle that is your life, you've got to spend at least a little bit of time to yourself every day, usually first thing in the morning. If you become truly self-aware, if you know the influence that people have on you because you know who you are in the absence of all influence, then you can begin to account for the effect that you have on other people.
And we'll just layer in the other side of that, which is friends. Friends are hard. Like friends, if you have not yet figured out how to actually have friends, that's the next thing. And if you have, by the way, there are a lot of people who haven't figured that out. Right? Most people just play next to each other. Very few people know how to play with each other. Seriously, like holding people to the standard of doing what he just said, right? Holding people to the standard of absolutely not holding back from being exactly who they're supposed to be is what a friend's supposed to do. That is hard. So if you do this and you do that, I think you've got about as good an answer as you're going to get.
Probably.
When Jordan said on the last question, work on becoming who you are here to be and offering, doing what is yours to do, and that's really it, that is all of you, right? It is not purely intellect development or heart development or will development or personal or interpersonal. It's all those things. And emergence happens at the intersection of all those happening, right? So is it relevant to work through childhood traumas that make us shut down or not willing to face certain things or create certain kinds of emotional predispositions that lead to cognitive predisposition? Yes, it is necessary. Is it sufficient? No. Is it necessary to develop our critical thinking so we can actually see, is this fact a fact or not? Yes. Is it sufficient? No. So if you think about whatever system, if you talk about left and right brain or mind, heart and will, or all the chakras, all the systems of intelligence and capacity, that any system that looked at what the human organism is, they all need progressively more developed. And then not just the person, but the person with other people in the environment.
When you can operate as a true and whole integrated human being, then you can be available to meet in community.